Kim Mi-kyung is a potato researcher at a food company. She is responsible for research, promoting new varieties to villagers, and even managing the purchase of potatoes. Kim Mi-kyung bargains with the villagers, but talks break down over a 10 Korean won budget disagreement, leading the villagers to disperse. Angered, Kim Mi-kyung curses loudly, wishing for the company's downfall, especially since it skimps on buying potatoes despite being the yearly champion in potato chip sales. At this time, the company president is signing a deal to sell the company. So Baek-ho from Wonhan Retail Strategy Planning Department, a handsome man, intervenes. Accused of barging into the office unannounced, So Baek-ho reveals that the president's contract partner is a fraud, running a shell company that leads acquired companies to bankruptcy. So Baek-ho presents two options to the president: merge with Wonhan Retail to save the company, or believe the fraudster and watch the company collapse. The president chooses the merger to save the company. Meanwhile, the potato researchers, unaware of these events, joyfully sing and welcome new employees until they receive a call that the company is going bankrupt and the buyer is Wonhan Retail. This is a double blow for Kim Mi-kyung, who previously worked at Wonhan Retail for 6 years and left on bad terms, considering it a nightmarish place. After successfully negotiating, So Baek-ho returns to Wonhan Retail, but faces hostility from a dismissed employee. Despite concerns for his safety, he calmly handles the attack and tricks the aggressor into a locked room where his special forces training becomes evident. After the acquisition, the Potato Research Institute members, led by Kim Mi-kyung, dress up impressively to make a statement at Wonhan Retail. They face mockery and doubt about the necessity of their institute at Wonhan Retail's HR department. Kim Mi-kyung passionately defends their work, explaining that they do not just study how to make tasty potatoes, but also develop new varieties, monitor seedling growth, and work to improve potato quality and yield, positioning them as a leading organization in Korea's agricultural sector. After a brief educational talk, HR takes photos for their IDs, and the researchers pose assertively, determined to make an impression. They successfully receive their employee IDs, but when inquiring about the future of the institute, the HR coldly states that it is up to the company to decide. The minister received a call that Wonhan Retail staff were conducting a surprise inspection at the institute. Everyone panicked and rushed back but found their employee cards couldn't open the gates. Kim Mi-kyung had no choice but to crawl out. Just then, several Wonhan Retail managers walked in, and Kim recognized the leader as her ex-boyfriend. To avoid being seen, she quickly ducked down. After they left, she continued crawling out. Just as she was escaping, a colleague loudly called her name. Her ex heard it, turned back, and called out to her. Kim looked at her ex, felt anger, flipped him off, and stormed away. 7 people hurried back to the institute to find a man inside inspecting. The female colleagues were initially dazzled by his handsome face and swooned. However, when So Baek-ho criticized the expired tea and wasteful paper use, their fondness vanished. Kim and So Baek-ho argued, stating that even if the institute belonged to Wonhan Retail, a surprise inspection wasn't justified. So Baek-ho argued that given enough time, they would only cover up issues, which isn't an inspection but a planned cover-up. As So Baek-ho prepared to leave, Kim and her colleagues leaned on the railing, reflecting on his handsome appearance but disappointing character. Thinking he couldn't hear, Kim angrily wished something would hit his head. Unexpectedly, a magpie swooped down and pecked at So Baek-ho's head. As he was still reacting, the bird attacked again. Kim rushed down to stop it, while So Baek-ho ran into the woods. Kim called the magpie's name and chased after So Baek-ho to stop him. But it was too late. He ran down a slope, couldn't stop, and rolled down. People resting in the fields heard Kim's shouts, set up a cart to stop him, and he rolled right into it. Kim rushed So Baek-ho to the hospital, relieved to find he only had superficial injuries. So Baek-ho explained he minimized injuries by adjusting his position as he rolled. Kim explained the magpie, often near the institute because she had rescued it, occasionally attacks humans after hearing curses. She denied any responsibility. Before leaving, Kim asked if Wonhan Retail would keep the institute open. Despite modest results, everyone had been working hard. So Baek-ho said he saw their efforts and would let the institute continue operating, assuring Kim she could work in peace. After a tiring day, Kim returned home, recalled meeting her ex, and felt sad about her misfortunes compared to his success. Fortunately, With friends' support, she gradually came to terms with the events. The next day at work, the director announced he was fired, and Wonhan Retail would appoint a new director. Additionally, 3 members of the production management were also dismissed. Kim Mi-kyung remembered So Baek-ho's promise that the research institute would operate normally. Now, seeing people leave one after another, she felt deceived and more convinced that nothing good comes from anything related to Wonhan Retail. Agitated, Kim Mi-kyung opened the cabinet where she hid her cigarettes. Despite having quit for months, the urge to smoke surged at that moment. Just as she was about to light a cigarette, a sudden downpour began. Frustrated by the series of unfortunate events, she furiously threw a pillow and cursed the people from Wonhan Retail. After venting, she squatted helplessly in the rain. At that moment, So Baek-ho approached her and held an umbrella over her head. Kim Mi-kyung learned that So Baek-ho was not only the new director of the Potato Research Institute, but also the new tenant at her family's guest house. She, despising anyone from Wonhan Retail, ordered her brother to evict So Baek-ho. Her brother explained that the guest house business was struggling, and they finally had a guest. He had already spent So Baek-ho's room rent on a new dryer and couldn't afford to refund it and evict him. Kim Mi-kyung was helpless but not ready to give up. To regain some control, she set ground rules with So Baek-ho. Their cohabitation must remain a secret to avoid rumors, and though they are superior and subordinate at the institute, they must interact as equals at the guest house. So Baek-ho readily agreed to her terms. Kim Mi-kyung triumphantly returned to her room, where her friend, a novelist, had already imagined a romantic comedy developing between her and So Baek-ho. They would fall in love through their arguments. Unconcerned, Kim Mi-kyung's friend showed her photos proving that all the boys she liked from elementary school to university had Ho in their names, suggesting So Baek-ho was her destined partner. The main character in her favorite romance novel corresponded to director So Baek-ho. Kim Mi-kyung laughed off the idea, insisting she would keep her distance from anyone associated with Wonhan Retail and that a romantic relationship with So Baek-ho was impossible. The next day, to get closer to everyone, So Baek-ho joined them for lunch at the cafeteria. Just as he sat down, the 3 team leaders responsible for growing potatoes entered and began spreading rumors about him being thrown down a hill. So Baek-ho stood up to greet them but was slapped back into his seat. During the conversation, the team leaders spoke so crudely that So Baek-ho spit out his soup in shock. Kim Mi-kyung, delivering takeaway coffee to the villagers, overheard them talking about the new director. She pretended to wipe away tears, expressing sorrow that the former director was dismissed to make room for someone else. The former director, known as the village's potato doctor, was well respected, and the villagers were outraged at his plight. They mobilized to confront So Baek-ho. Watching the villagers gather around So Baek-ho and an indifferent Kim Mi-kyung enjoying the scene, So Baek-ho realized he had fallen into Kim Mi-kyung's trap. The village chairman explained the rules. Anyone residing in the village for over 30 days is considered a temporary resident and must contribute to the village development fund. The village head then presented So Baek-ho with the agreement, asking him to sign and pay up. So Baek-ho didn't want to argue with those who didn't understand the law. He handed out a business card and asked them to contact his lawyer as the situation escalated. That evening, Kim Mi-kyung approached So Baek-ho to admit her mistake and offered to pay for the village development fund on his behalf. So Baek-ho firmly refused to compromise or let Kim pay for him, which angered the elderly residents. To punish So Baek-ho, the village chief blocked the road from the guest house to the institute. So Baek-ho argued that the road was national property, but the chief showed evidence that he had paid for it to help the villagers. So Baek-ho returned to the guest house for help, asking Kim Mi-kyung's brother to call a taxi since he couldn't find one on his phone. The brother informed him that taxis were rare due to the distance from the city. Kim guessed his car had been blocked and blamed him for not listening to her. Walking to the institute would take until the end of the workday. Seeing Kim leaving, So Baek-ho asked for a ride. She agreed but made him sit in the cargo bed of the pickup truck. So Baek-ho, like a fallen prince, resignedly sat in the truck. Kim, disliking his usual arrogance, deliberately drove over stones, shaking the truck and causing So Baek-ho to bounce and fall awkwardly. To find a better route, So Baek-ho studied a map and found a drivable mountain road. He didn't notice a sign warning of falling rocks, and soon returned home disheveled, having his car towed and asking Kim for another ride. Kim saw his condition and guessed what had happened. This time, So Baek-ho wanted to sit in the passenger seat, but it was broken, so he had to sit in the cargo bed again. Kim advised him to give in and pay, but So Baek-ho firmly refused and vowed to find a solution. The next morning, So Baek-ho got up early to catch a bus, but it drove past him with the village chief and others on board. Meanwhile, Kim Mi-kyung's brother went to a wedding and accidentally met her ex-boyfriend, who inquired about Kim. The brother inadvertently revealed that she was researching potatoes. The ex returned to his company and immediately checked the institute's staff list, confirming Kim's involvement. Kim received an urgent call that the fields of potatoes and chili peppers were infested with pests. The whole institute mobilized to spray and eradicate the pests. So Baek-ho came out to inquire what was happening and was pushed into the vehicle by Kim. Upon arrival, everyone suited up, except So Baek-ho, who leisurely sipped tea. Kim ordered him to gear up and join in. So Baek-ho admitted he hadn't done such work before. After a lecture from Kim, he reluctantly took the boots, but refused to wear the colorful protective suit. During the spraying, So Baek-ho kept one hand in his pocket and worked with the other, maintaining his stylish pose. So Baek-ho quickly got turned around and bumped into an employee, resulting in close contact. After they managed to stand up, he called out to the switch operator, explaining that the machine wasn't spraying the medicine. The operator, who was listening to music, saw the stop gesture and thought work was done, so he pressed a button that shut down the main equipment. The equipment automatically retracted the spray hose, which wrapped around So Baek-ho and pulled him down, dragging him on the ground. People frantically gestured, until the employee on the other side understood and quickly hit the switch to free him. After a brief rest, the muddy So Baek-ho went to shower. When he didn't come out for a while, the minister, worried he might have fainted, asked Kim Mi-kyung to check on him. Kim called out a few times with no response, just as So Baek-ho came out of the shower wearing a white shirt. The shirt revealed his muscular back, and the front buttons were not yet done up, exuding a sexy and alluring aura. Kim, who was particularly drawn to good looks, found her heart racing. She immediately imagined So Baek-ho as the sexy boss, the main character of her novel, and remembered her friend's words that she was destined to fall in love with him. Shaking her head in disbelief, she calmly asked So Baek-ho to join the others. To promote team unity, So Baek-ho falsely claimed he could handle his alcohol well, but quickly became drunk. Kim Mi-kyung also had some drinks and had to call a designated driver to take the car back. She and So Baek-ho sat in the back, with So Baek-ho drowsily leaning on her shoulder. Worried she might do something rash facing his handsome face, she covered So Baek-ho's head with a raincoat. Woken up by the driver, Kim Mi-kyung found herself cuddling with So Baek-ho. She tried to wake him but was mesmerized by his handsome face and slowly leaned in. Just then, So Baek-ho suddenly opened his eyes. Unable to tell if she was dazzled by his looks or affected by the alcohol, Kim saw So Baek-ho as the sexy boss at that moment, and she impulsively kissed him. Kim Mi-kyung woke up and remembered kissing So Baek-ho last night. She felt very embarrassed, especially since her best friend witnessed everything and teased her. Kim Mi-kyung explained it was the alcohol and a moment of impulse. Kim Mi-kyung wanted to apologize to So Baek-ho and edited numerous messages, but never sent them. So Baek-ho vividly remembered the event. After she kissed him, he was thrilled, but stunned, unable to believe what had happened. To distract himself, he organized the fridge, ironed clothes, and mowed the lawn, staying up all night. Kim Mi-kyung was startled by a call from So Baek-ho and, unsure how to face him, quickly hung up. So Baek-ho, standing by the window, saw her on the phone. When Kim Mi-kyung looked down and saw him staring, she pretended the sun was in her eyes and hurriedly drew the curtains. So Baek-ho, not giving up, came to knock on the door. Kim Mi-kyung, in panic, threw her shoes out the window and tried to escape by jumping out, only to find So Baek-ho waiting to help her down. So Baek-ho demanded an explanation. Kim Mi-kyung claimed she was drunk last night and remembered nothing in the morning. So Baek-ho exposed her lie, falsely claiming he had paid her taxi and fuel fees totaling 170,000 won, and asked for repayment, knowing he was lying. Kim Mi-kyung hesitated to argue, as it would reveal her own lie about being drunk. Reluctantly, she took out her phone. Just then, her brother arrived, and she quickly changed the subject, asking him to help So Baek-ho tidy up so she could escape. The local institute was hosting its annual food contest, with villagers including Kim Mi-kyung participating. Busy with preparations alongside the chef and the village chief, she was again confronted by So Baek-ho demanding 170,000 won. Kim Mi-kyung grabbed a tablecloth to show she was busy, but So Baek-ho snatched it, willing to help. He skillfully laid out the tablecloth and placed a vase, revealing his experience from working part-time in a large restaurant for 22 months. Kim Mi-kyung then tried to excuse herself with the need to set tableware, but So Baek-ho, who had also worked in a hotel buffet for 14 months, confidently handled the dishes. When she mentioned needing to help in the parking lot, that was no challenge for So Baek-ho, who had part-timed in an amusement park parking lot for 8 months. He efficiently directed the vehicles, impeccable in both skill and attitude. After finishing, So Baek-ho again asked for the money. Meanwhile, the neighboring village chief, accompanied by a chef recently trained in the USA, came to provoke them, mocking that their village had never won in 3 years. The village chief, refusing to be insulted, started a fight, causing chaos at the event. Only So Baek-ho, peeling potatoes with headphones on, stayed out of it. Kim Mi-kyung's brother, the village's competing chef, struggled as onions made his eyes water, preventing him from competing. Kim Mi-kyung and the village chief, with little hope left, asked So Baek-ho if he could cook. So Baek-ho stated he held certifications in both Korean and Western cuisine, but was reluctant to help those who made his life difficult. The village chief humbly apologized, and Kim Mi-kyung also assured him that the village would provide him with a pass and no longer block his car. So Baek-ho then agreed to participate in the contest, changing into his chef's uniform. The opposing chef, to showcase his skills, simultaneously tossed several potatoes and caught them with precision in a pan. So Baek-ho threw a potato in the air, slicing it several times before it landed in the pot as diced pieces. The other chef skillfully sliced with his left hand and chopped with his right. So Baek-ho's cuts were gentle, leaving the potato's surface intact, but separating the skin from the flesh. After showing off their skills, both sides presented their dishes. After the judges' selection, So Baek-ho won. The village chief boasted everywhere, and the villagers gathered around So Baek-ho to thank him for bringing honor to the village. Kim Mi-kyung felt relieved seeing this. After the contest, she took So Baek-ho to a secluded place and apologized for kissing him without consent that night, admitting she remembered everything but was too embarrassed to confess. Nervously waiting for his reprimand, So Baek-ho instead asked, "Will you date me?" Kim Mi-kyung thought. So Baek-ho might have fallen for her or experienced love at first sight. However, So Baek-ho clarified that he wasn't particularly moved by Kim Mi-kyung, but felt compelled by his conservative values, which dictate that only lovers should kiss. Since they had kissed, they must become a couple. Surprised by his conservative views, Kim Mi-kyung firmly refused to date So Baek-ho, leading to a heated debate. Before parting, So Baek-ho declared his intention to pursue her until she fell for him, and agreed to date him. Kim Mi-kyung returned home, angry yet somewhat shy, remembering only that So Baek-ho had enjoyed the kiss. Likewise, So Baek-ho remembered Kim Mi-kyung kissing him because she found him handsome and sexy, admiring himself in the mirror and praising her taste. The next day, Kim Mi-kyung wore sunglasses to work. Her colleagues surrounded her with questions, and she reluctantly removed her sunglasses, revealing her eyebrows, which became the focus of attention. It turned out her best friend had taken her to get her eyebrows tattooed the day before. Everyone laughed, taking pictures while Kim Mi-kyung posed willingly, becoming the joke of the day. Just then, the department head came to announce that the head of the headquarters was visiting the institute. Concerned that Kim Mi-kyung's appearance might scare him, he told her to hide. The chairman arrived with his son-in-law, Park Ki-se, Kim Mi-kyung's ex-boyfriend, who immediately began looking for her. The chairman was primarily there to see So Baek-ho, a talent he had managed to recruit. Coincidentally, he spotted Kim Mi-kyung hiding and asked her to come down and greet them. Wanting neither to show her eyebrows nor meet her ex-boyfriend, Kim Mi-kyung covered her face with her hair and slowly moved forward. A gust of wind suddenly blew Kim Mi-kyung's hair aside, fully revealing her face. Her ex-boyfriend, Park Ki-se, quietly approached her. He asked Kim Mi-kyung not to mention their past relationship to anyone, as he didn't want rumors to affect him. Kim Mi-kyung was speechless. She wanted nothing to do with her ex and agreed to act as if she didn't know him in the future. However, as Kim Mi-kyung was leaving, Park Ki-se remarked that she was still using the same shampoo. This infuriated Kim Mi-kyung, and she knocked him to the ground. So Baek-ho walked in and sensed tension between them. Kim Mi-kyung explained that Park Ki-se had fallen on his own, and it had nothing to do with her. The ex-boyfriend had no choice but to leave silently. After the chairman finished his tour, he discussed with several people whether the institute was necessary. So Baek-ho argued that the institute greatly contributed to the company's sales. However, Park Ki-se believed that potatoes were common and that the institute was a waste of resources and should be closed soon. The chairman agreed with Park Ki-se and asked So Baek-ho for his plans. To save the institute, So Baek-ho proposed a plan to reduce staff. The chairman agreed and asked him to complete the task quickly and return to headquarters. Soon after, Kim Mi-kyung received a call from So Baek-ho. She thought he wanted to persuade her to date him, but was shocked when he announced she was being fired. Kim Mi-kyung initially thought it was a threat to make her date him. Seeing So Baek-ho's seriousness, she realized it was true. So Baek-ho explained that his purpose at the institute was to reduce staff, and she was the only non-professional there. Kim Mi-kyung argued that she worked diligently every day and had never missed a day according to the attendance records. So Baek-ho challenged her about any academic papers or research outcomes she had produced in the past 6 years. Kim Mi-kyung blurted out that her goal was to develop a potato variety named after her. As soon as she said it, she felt guilty, realizing she had not achieved any results despite years of claims. So Baek-ho did not allow her to argue and told her to train the new staff and then process her resignation. He suggested she start looking for a new job. Kim Mi-kyung was so upset that she leaned on the steering wheel to vent her emotions. So Baek-ho watched from the window, feeling somewhat sympathetic. That night, Kim Mi-kyung did not return home and did not answer her phone. Her brother and best friend came to ask So Baek-ho if something unpleasant had happened at the institute. So Baek-ho did not mention the firing but was worried that Kim Mi-kyung might do something drastic. Kim Mi-kyung went to the temple where her father, now a monk, lived. She talked with him to ease her emotions. As midnight approached and Kim Mi-kyung had not returned, So Baek-ho anxiously watched from his window. Seeing her finally come back and even happily consider damaging the rearview mirror of So Baek-ho's car, he finally felt relieved. Kim Mi-kyung's brother woke up to drink water and learned she had gone to the temple. He complained about their mother's early death and their father's choice to become a monk, which he thought was unfair to Kim Mi-kyung. As the eldest of 3 children, with their father absent, she was forced to take on all responsibilities. Yet, the dutiful Kim Mi-kyung willingly accepted this burden. So Baek-ho was conducting individual meetings with employees. Kim Mi-kyung, wanting to make one last effort, burst into So Baek-ho's office. She tried to distract him with her signature smile, but So Baek-ho remained unmoved and asked why she had barged in. Kim Mi-kyung humbly pleaded to keep her job, even offering to go without a salary increase for 2 years, arguing that it would be hard to find labor as affordable as hers. Despite her pleas, So Baek-ho refused to revoke her dismissal. Facing reality, Kim Mi-kyung asked a colleague for a recruiter's number, claiming a friend was looking for a job in agriculture. She met with the recruiter in a hotel, actively promoting herself and hoping to secure a position in agricultural research. However, the recruiter was unimpressed with her resume and quickly ended the conversation. Coincidentally, Park Ki-se was also at the hotel and overheard their conversation. After the recruiter left, he sat down with Kim Mi-kyung and asked if she had been fired by So Baek-ho. He explained that So Baek-ho's job was to downsize, but he could keep Kim Mi-kyung employed since he was So Baek-ho's supervisor and had the final say. Out of past consideration, he was willing to help her. Kim Mi-kyung asked him to raise his fist, open his fingers, and then slapped him across the face to help him wake up. She declared that even in her lowest moments, she would not seek help from trash. After saying this, she angrily left the hotel. Park Ki-se had come to the hotel hoping to see his ex-wife, who had returned from abroad. Unbeknownst to him, his ex-wife had no desire to see him and had instead arranged to meet with So Baek-ho, an old childhood friend. Upon seeing her things scattered everywhere, So Baek-ho helped her clean up and suggested she meet with Park Ki-se. Dissatisfied, she felt So Baek-ho, a longtime friend, should side with her, not Park Ki-se. Meanwhile, news of Kim Mi-kyung's interview reached her female colleagues, who confronted her about why she was job hunting. Unable to keep it a secret any longer, Kim Mi-kyung revealed she had been fired. Her colleagues were outraged on her behalf and glared fiercely at So Baek-ho, making him uncomfortable. So Baek-ho avoided their gazes, but after work, he found his car deliberately blocked. Realizing this was a silent protest, he had no choice but to push his car himself. Kim Mi-kyung and her two colleagues watched this scene from hiding and celebrated together. Later, So Baek-ho returned home to find a delivery containing a flower he had gone to great lengths to obtain. This was part of his earlier intentions to pursue Kim Mi-kyung after asking her which flowers she liked. He hesitated, unsure whether to give her the flower. The institute's quarterly meeting was approaching, and the employees were looking forward to it. The minister's wife owned a convenience store, and he always brought a large amount of snacks to the meetings, making it a day everyone enjoyed. Excitedly holding their snacks, employees walked into the meeting room and suddenly saw So Baek-ho sitting there. They abruptly remembered the change in leadership and realized that snack day might be canceled. As the meeting started, the minister presented at the front. Everyone except So Baek-ho occasionally glanced at the snacks on the table. A female colleague, unhappy, sent a message in a small group chat complaining that So Baek-ho was too harsh and that not allowing snacks was like employee abuse. Kim Mi-kyung was horrified when she realized the message was accidentally sent to the main group chat, which included So Baek-ho. Everyone tensed up as they noticed So Baek-ho also checking his phone. Seeing this, Kim Mi-kyung rushed forward, grabbed So Baek-ho's phone, and ran to the restroom to delete the message. She returned the phone to So Baek-ho, claiming she thought it was hers. Back in the meeting, when employees suggested that So Baek-ho's computer might have the chat software, Kim Mi-kyung dashed into So Baek-ho's office, locking him out. However, she didn't know the computer's password and couldn't open it. Reluctantly, she asked So Baek-ho for the password, claiming she needed just 10 seconds on his computer. So Baek-ho demanded she leave immediately. Kim Mi-kyung lied, saying she had cursed at him in a small group chat and accidentally sent it to the company-wide group. She was worried about his reaction and wanted to delete it. Annoyed, So Baek-ho said he didn't care about her opinions, and if she couldn't focus on work, she might as well delete it. He entered the password and let Kim Mi-kyung handle it herself. After deleting the colleague's remarks, she apologized and left the office. That night, a heavy rainstorm began, and Kim Mi-kyung's phone issued a storm emergency alert, startling her awake. Concerned about damage to the greenhouse, she immediately headed to the institute. From his window, So Baek-ho saw her leave and, fearing for her safety in the severe weather, followed her in his car. Kim Mi-kyung was at the institute, trying to fix the damaged tarp. In the emergency, a pair of strong hands reached out to help her pull down the tarp. It was So Baek-ho coming to help her. After finishing their tasks, Kim Mi-kyung and Yoon Hee-jin, soaked through, took a hot shower. They then ate together at the institute. Before this, So Baek-ho saw on his home computer that a female colleague had accidentally sent a message meant for him to a group chat. He knew Kim Mi-kyung had taken the blame that day for a colleague. The next day, a new guest arrived at the guest house. Kim Mi-kyung's close friend and brother saw someone entering So Baek-ho's room using the code. Suspecting the person was So Baek-ho's girlfriend, they informed Kim Mi-kyung. Although she claimed indifference, she felt uneasy, especially since So Baek-ho had expressed interest in her. Feeling deceived, she and her friend watched So Baek-ho's room through binoculars and saw a woman on his bed, which upset Kim Mi-kyung. Unbeknownst to her, the woman was So Baek-ho's childhood friend, Yoon Hee-jin, who didn't want to inform her parents about her return and sought refuge with So Baek-ho. Yoon Hee-jin spotted Kim Mi-kyung and greeted her warmly, signaling her intention to come over. Soon, Yoon Hee-jin rang the doorbell and invited them to her welcome party. At the party, So Baek-ho, who usually followed a vegetarian diet, surprisingly took the initiative to grill meat. Yoon Hee-jin boasted about their friendship since they were 16. which made Kim Mi-kyung jealous. She confronted So Baek-ho, accusing him of deceit, vowing not to be fooled. After venting, she returned to her seat, only to hear Yoon Hee-jin ask So Baek-ho about his crush, which he refused to disclose. It became clear then that Yoon Hee-jin and So Baek-ho were not lovers, but childhood friends. Kim Mi-kyung speculated that perhaps So Baek-ho liked her, but dismissed it as unlikely since no one would fire someone they liked. She stopped herself from overthinking and continued job hunting. Unexpectedly, she received an email from the company's project management team assigning her to work integrating retail and food services at the institute and headquarters weekly. Kim Mi-kyung reported to headquarters on time. She saw So Baek-ho come in. She guessed that the project management team leader might be So Baek-ho. Unexpectedly, her ex-boyfriend entered next. He announced that he was the leader of the project management team. After the meeting, her ex-boyfriend called Kim Mi-kyung to his office for work reasons. He admitted he had pulled strings to transfer her. After all, Kim Mi-kyung had worked at Wonhan Retail and the Research Institute. She knew both companies well. Kim Mi-kyung would rather find a new job than accept this favor. Her ex-boyfriend accused her of having too much pride. In frustration, he revealed the truth. He had transferred her out of pity. He believed her life was worse because of him. Feeling guilty, he decided to help Kim Mi-kyung. Kim Mi-kyung felt insulted. She took off her watch, then her shoes. After counting to 10, she attacked her ex-boyfriend with the shoe. Her ex-boyfriend fled. At that moment, the phone rang. The secretary reported that So Baek-ho was looking for him. Kim Mi-kyung hurriedly put on her shoes. She composed herself. So Baek-ho, who entered, sensed the unusual atmosphere. He asked Kim Mi-kyung why she was there. Kim Mi-kyung lied about being there for business. Leaving headquarters, Kim Mi-kyung went to a familiar restaurant. She ran into So Baek-ho. So Baek-ho was upset that she had contacted Park Ki-si. He questioned why she didn't report work matters to him. Kim Mi-kyung saw his anger, but didn't understand why. She explained that she was just discussing company matters with a colleague, not bypassing him. Unable to argue, So Baek-ho left hurriedly. News of Kim Mi-kyung's transfer saddened her colleagues. Kim Mi-kyung blamed So Baek-ho. She wished that ghosts would haunt So Baek-ho. As she spoke, So Baek-ho heard eerie noises. Frightened, he stayed up all night. The next morning, he asked his brother if he heard strange sounds. Before his brother could answer, Kim Mi-kyung stepped on his foot. She lied that they heard nothing. She deliberately scared So Baek-ho. If she became a ghost, she would definitely haunt So Baek-ho. So Baek-ho was skeptical. At the Research Institute, he heard creaking noises. He discovered red spots on the floor leading to the door. He followed the trail and was startled by two women at the door. Thinking he saw ghosts, he collapsed. The women returned downstairs. They reported that they had entered So Baek-ho's office the previous day. They had accidentally spilled red nail polish and broke a chair. Fearing discovery by So Baek-ho, they sent the women to investigate. Unaware of the truth, So Baek-ho was still frightened at work. On his way home, a flyer suddenly hit his car windshield. He removed it and saw it was about rituals to ward off evil spirits. The next day, Kim Mi-kyung and her group returned home to find a shaman performing rituals at their doorstep. So Baek-ho was devoutly kneeling and praying for the strange noises to stop haunting him. Realizing the trouble she caused, Kim Mi-kyung quickly confessed the truth. The strange noises were from birds, known locally as ghost birds, which call in the mountains every summer. Kim Mi-kyung apologized, but So Baek-ho refused to forgive her immediately, demanding continuous apologies. To show her sincerity, Kim Mi-kyung gave So Baek-ho an apple. In a show of rejection, So Baek-ho sliced the apple and returned it. Unyielding, Kim Mi-kyung invited him for coffee. So Baek-ho responded by bringing a coffee cart, treating all colleagues to coffee. Kim Mi-kyung washed So Baek-ho's car, and he washed hers in return, refusing to accept her gestures. Onlookers, including her friend and brother, didn't see this as a confrontation, but rather as a display of affection. Elsewhere, Park Ki-si learned that Yoon Hee-jin was staying at the Plains guest house, where So Baek-ho also resided. He went there and knocked, only for Kim Mi-kyung to answer the door. Surprised to see her ex-boyfriend Park Ki-se uninvited, Kim Mi-kyung led him away to inquire about his purpose. Park Ki-si hid the fact he was divorced from his ex-wife and lied about checking on So Baek-ho's accommodation as a supervisor. After explaining, he asked why Kim Mi-kyung was there. She stated it was her home, and she had every right to be there. Park Ki-si was instantly troubled. Park Ki-si complained to a colleague that Yoon Hee-jin was staying at Kim Mi-kyung's guest house, and So Baek-ho was there too. The three people he disliked the most were living together. He was determined not to let them know each other's connections to him. Kim Mi-kyung returned to the guest house and stopped outside So Baek-ho's room, reminiscing about a sweet moment from the previous night. She tried various ways to earn So Baek-ho's forgiveness, but he remained steadfast. Exhausted by the day's efforts, Kim Mi-kyung decided to call So Baek-ho and suggest a truce, just as he called her, saying he noticed she looked unwell and was no longer angry. She didn't need to continue her appeasement. Relieved, Kim Mi-kyung walked to the window to check on So Baek-ho and saw him looking back at her. They watched each other while on the phone, and the atmosphere turned ambiguously intimate, especially when So Baek-ho tenderly wished her good night, causing her heart to flutter. To hide her fluster, she quickly ended the call. Today, So Baek-ho held a meeting with institute staff to announce the introduction of a new variety of American potatoes for making chips, starting next year. This would replace the current Changsheng potatoes they had developed and used for 15 years. The director argued against changing the long-used potatoes, so Baek-ho highlighted the advantages of the new potatoes and presented chips made from both types for a taste test. Kim Mi-kyung volunteered to try them and found both varieties equally good. To advocate for using the local brand, she rushed into the lab and brought out a new variety they were developing, also with high yield. Seeing So Baek-ho's skeptical attitude, Kim Mi-kyung immediately took him to inspect the fields. Back at the institute, colleagues saw Kim Mi-kyung and So Baek-ho asleep in the car, with their hands nearly touching. This sparked rumors about their relationship, even leading to discussions about their suitability for marriage. They were awakened by their phones ringing. Kim Mi-kyung stepped out of the car to see colleagues and the director pretending to exercise on the ground. Park Ki-si then approached So Baek-ho and handed him a set of keys, informing him that a colleague's parents had a nearby villa where he could stay. Confused about why Park Ki-si suddenly cared about his accommodation, So Baek-ho sensed ulterior motives, especially given Park Ki-si's insistence on him moving out. Park Ki-si claimed he heard about So Baek-ho and Kim Mi-kyung getting close and suggested that staying there would only lead to disturbances from Kim Mi-kyung. Reflecting on his work ethic, So Baek-ho remembered turning off his phone the previous day to avoid disturbing Kim Mi-kyung, who was asleep in the car. This oversight made him realize he needed to regain control and distance his heart from Kim Mi-kyung. Kim Mi-kyung, seeing So Baek-ho from the window, called him. He glanced at his phone but did not answer. Puzzled, she knocked on his door to ask why he ignored her call. So Baek-ho, unfazed, lied about not seeing the call. Kim Mi-kyung, feeling awkward, still suggested they go together to a meeting at headquarters the next day. So Baek-ho coldly stated his preference to go alone and walked into his room, closing the door behind him. Yoon Hee-jin, seeing So Baek-ho's struggle, pressed him to reveal whom he liked and advised him that love should be straightforward, like a traffic light. Either stop or go, without hesitation. However, So Baek-ho felt his feelings were like a yellow light, leaving him unsure whether to move forward or back. At the project team meeting the next day, Kim Mi-kyung couldn't help but stare at So Baek-ho with affectionate eyes. However, So Baek-ho did not look at her throughout the meeting. At lunch, Kim Mi-kyung overheard people discussing her and Park Ki-se. Just then, So Baek-ho approached. Ignoring the rumors, Kim Mi-kyung warmly invited So Baek-ho to sit next to her, but he didn't listen and chose to sit elsewhere. Kim Mi-kyung felt embarrassed and could no longer bear the gossip. She left the dining area without eating and went to a quiet place, feeling as devastated as she did 6 years ago when she faced a public scandal. Tears quietly rolled down her cheeks. Just then, she received a call from Park Ki-si. Filled with anger, Kim Mi-kyung stormed into his office and demanded to know why he was calling her. Park Ki-si noticed she had been crying and tried to comfort her, but she coldly rejected his attempt. Resigned, Park Ki-si informed her that So Baek-ho had submitted her resignation letter, but he hadn't signed it yet, reassuring Kim Mi-kyung not to worry. Kim Mi-kyung was stunned. She had thought So Baek-ho had submitted her resignation weeks ago, not just today. This news confirmed So Baek-ho's decision to let her go, which deeply depressed her. Returning home, Kim Mi-kyung couldn't resist reaching for a cigarette she had quit long ago. Just as she was about to light it, she noticed a pot of flowers at So Baek-ho's door, the very type she had once told So Baek-ho she liked when he had asked. Kim Mi-kyung knocked on So Baek-ho's door, confronting him about why he bought those flowers and questioning his inconsistent behavior towards her, which only added to her distress. So Baek-ho, after listening, moved closer to Kim Mi-kyung. So Baek-ho expressed a strong desire to break down barriers between them and stop suppressing his emotions. Kim Mi-kyung caught a glimpse of uncontrollable desire in his eyes, causing her face to flush and her heart to race. Just as So Baek-ho was about to make a further move, Kim Mi-kyung panicked and ran aside to calm her intense emotions. She returned to So Baek-ho, wanting to hear his feelings for her. So Baek-ho slowly shared his past. Abandoned by his parents as a child and raised in an orphanage, he always followed rules and restrained his emotions. Kim Mi-kyung's presence often made him lose his composure due to uncontrollable affection, leading him away from his usual self. Kim Mi-kyung angrily countered that she wasn't the only one feeling uncertain. No normal girl would like someone who once wanted to fire her, yet she was that abnormal one who couldn't suppress her feelings for him. Touched, So Baek-ho was about to respond when Kim Mi-kyung denied him the chance, stating they were currently in a superior-subordinate relationship. She proposed they start dating officially after she resigned from the institute and suggested they keep their relationship strictly professional for now. The moment they touched hands, a current ran through them. Upon entering the institute, Kim Mi-kyung noticed her colleagues acting suspiciously, seemingly hiding something on their computer. When she tried to investigate, she was stopped. The minister then sent her to So Baek-ho's office to discuss potato variety selection. After she left, her colleagues sighed in relief. They had seen Kim Mi-kyung and So Baek-ho asleep in a car and concluded they were secret lovers, now trying to calculate their marital compatibility online, but only knew her birth date, not So Baek-ho's. At So Baek-ho's office, the two argued about potato varieties. In the tense atmosphere, So Baek-ho suddenly asked if Kim Mi-kyung was mad at him. She affirmed her professionalism, but vowed to find theoretical support to defeat him. She spent the day researching. After work, So Baek-ho found her still busy in the office. When she continued to argue about the potatoes, he suggested they go out for dinner. On the way, they argued again, leading So Baek-ho to stop the car and tenderly apologize. Upset, Kim Mi-kyung got out, refusing to have dinner together. He quickly followed and gently took her hand, asking for reconciliation. Eventually moved by his tenderness, they walked hand in hand. Kim Mi-kyung wanted to take him to her usual relaxation spot, unaware her best friend and her brother had just made their relationship official and were sweetly dating there. Hearing Kim Mi-kyung and So Baek-ho, the friend hurriedly hid with her brother. So Baek-ho, seeing the wine and food, mistakenly thought Kim Mi-kyung had prepared it and was deeply touched, while Kim Mi-kyung looked around, puzzled, searching for the food's owner. At that moment, So Baek-ho found a letter and thought it was from Kim Mi-kyung. However, upon opening it, he was so shocked that he panicked and fled. Kim Mi-kyung picked up the letter and saw it contained explicit flirtatious content, suggesting an exciting night with inappropriate flirting methods. She quickly explained that she did not write it, but So Baek-ho had already disappeared. Seeing Kim Mi-kyung walk away, her brother curiously asked his sister's friend about the letter's content. She claimed it was a love letter for him and whispered its words in his ear, leaving him visibly shocked. The next day at work, Kim Mi-kyung urgently explained to So Baek-ho that she didn't write the letter. She admitted her fondness for him and some negative thoughts she had, but insisted she wouldn't go as far as to write those down. Before she could finish, they heard something fall. The team leader responsible for potatoes appeared from behind the refrigerator. Kim Mi-kyung and So Baek-ho approached the team leader with a gift, denying their relationship. But So Baek-ho openly admitted they were dating and asked the team leader to keep it secret. Regrettably, he informed them he had already told 2 other women, forcing them to bribe these women to keep quiet. As So Baek-ho was inside, Kim Mi-kyung received a call from her boss asking if she and So Baek-ho were discussing marriage. She rushed back to the office to confess, only to find her colleagues already knew. Learning their relationship was no longer secret, So Baek-ho confidently sat across from Kim Mi-kyung at dinner, openly acknowledged their relationship, and affectionately interacted with her in front of everyone. Unaware a colleague outside was taking pictures, Park Ki-se, monitoring his ex-wife, transferred a colleague to assist So Baek-ho despite opposition. The colleague reported to Park Ki-se that his ex-wife was not at the inn, and that So Baek-ho was dating Kim Mi-kyung. Park Ki-se was skeptical, knowing So Baek-ho disliked noisy women like Kim Mi-kyung and believed they couldn't be together. However, after seeing a photo and hearing So Baek-ho admit their relationship, Park Ki-se called the company president to recall Kim Mi-kyung from 6 years ago. Meanwhile, Kim Mi-kyung's brother, aware of the disparity in their capabilities, was worried So Baek-ho might take advantage of his sister. Since their mother's death, Kim Mi-kyung had been the primary caregiver for the family. He confronted So Baek-ho, who solemnly promised to protect her. While making drinks, So Baek-ho realized her brother didn't understand costs and profits, so he prepared a detailed balance sheet for him to identify why the inn was not profitable. The brother discovered the losses were mainly due to Kim Mi-kyung and her friend staying for free, and ordered them to start paying rent and food expenses next month. Kim Mi-kyung and her friend realized her brother couldn't have thought of this on his own. The strategic-minded So Baek-ho must be behind it. In retaliation, they kicked out her brother and So Baek-ho. To win Kim Mi-kyung's forgiveness, So Baek-ho showed up with various dolls she liked. Unable to resist, she took the dolls, and So Baek-ho seized the moment to enter and pin her against the wall. The close contact made both their hearts flutter. Kim Mi-kyung closed her eyes in anticipation, but So Baek-ho tenderly kissed her forehead instead. Meanwhile, Park Ki-se was silently praying while looking at a photo of Kim Mi-kyung, hoping she would not date So Baek-ho because she was unaware of what So had done to her. Kim Mi-kyung returned to her room to find her brother and best friend hiding. They had just been secretly watching her intimate moments with So Baek-ho, peering into So's room from a window. Coincidentally, So Baek-ho was changing clothes, and his bare upper body was suddenly exposed to the three of them. Her brother quickly drew the curtains to prevent his sister's friend from seeing this, but So Baek-ho still noticed their figures. Embarrassed, Kim Mi-kyung hurriedly called So Baek-ho to explain, saying it was a misunderstanding, and they did not intend to see him undressed. So Baek-ho casually responded that it didn't matter since Kim would soon see anyway. His ambiguous words left Kim flustered, and she rolled excitedly on her bed. The next day, Kim Mi-kyung had planned to go out to eat with her best friend, but canceled last minute to see So Baek-ho, looking forward to him cooking for her. Her friend, angered by the cancellation, scolded Kim for being heartless. Her brother, trying to cheer up the friend, stopped the car on the side of the road to give her a loving kiss. Just then, the friend saw Kim's ex-boyfriend, Park Ki-se, driving past towards the guest house. She quickly kicked her brother out of the car, took the driver's seat, and rushed back to the guest house. As Park was getting out of his car, he was frightened by the speeding vehicle and fell. The friend furiously scolded him for being heartless and unworthy of seeking Kim, warning him to be ready to face consequences if he showed up again. Unable to argue back, Park blamed the breakup with Kim on the friend. Seeing him shirk responsibility, the friend, ignoring her brother's pleas, launched a flying kick at Park, chasing him around. While planning to have a meal, Kim Mi-kyung and So Baek-ho heard the commotion outside and went to check. Seeing Park there, both shouted his name. Kim returned to her room, constantly speculating about the relationship between So Baek-ho and Park, feeling that if they were merely colleagues, So wouldn't call him brother. She suspected there was a connection she was unaware of. So Baek-ho confronted Park about his reason for visiting. Sensing Park's excessive interest in him recently, Park lied that his interest was to find out about Yoon Hee-jin's whereabouts and cautiously asked if So was dating Kim. After confirming, Park quickly used work as an excuse to advise So against office romance. Unaware of Park's real intentions, So dismissed him with an excuse. So Baek-ho called Kim to come over for a meal, but she lied about having errands and declined the invitation. Kim was hesitant about whether to reveal her past relationship with Park to So. Her best friend advised against disclosure, believing no one wants their partner to know their unpleasant past, while her brother supported being honest, thinking it better for So to hear it from Kim than someone else. Kim chose to avoid meeting, So for now, opting for temporary avoidance. In the middle of the night, the village broadcast announced that the old lady's calf had run away again and asked all villagers to help find it. Kim Mi-kyung and 2 others quickly joined the villagers. Just as they were about to split up, So Baek-ho arrived fully equipped. Kim Mi-kyung, feeling helpless, told him it was just a calf search and such preparations were unnecessary. So Baek-ho, embarrassed, explained that he had learned to take care of himself from a young age and was always fully prepared. Kim Mi-kyung apologized to So Baek-ho for refusing to have dinner with him earlier. So Baek-ho had seen her in the room that afternoon, but had not exposed her lie, believing she had her reasons. Touched by So Baek-ho's understanding, Kim Mi-kyung was about to reveal her relationship with Park Ki-se when they were interrupted by the calf's cry. However, every time they approached, the calf ran away. Cleverly, So Baek-ho used the salt in his backpack to lure the calf home and handed it to the old lady. He also thoughtfully installed a tracker on the calf's neck to find it if it got lost again. Seeing the old lady tearfully embracing the calf, Kim Mi-kyung told So Baek-ho that the old lady suffered from dementia and always treated the calf as her son. Thanks to So Baek-ho, they were able to help her effectively. Back at home, Kim Mi-kyung looked for her best friend and brother. She pushed open her brother's room door and saw a woman in his bed, clearly interrupting them. She then knocked heavily on her best friend's door to share the news, but her friend was not in her room. Unexpectedly, her friend's phone rang in her brother's room. Bursting in again, she caught the 2 dressing and was shocked. To her, the best friend and brother were like family without blood ties, and she couldn't accept them dating. Despite their explanations of mutual affection, Kim Mi-kyung couldn't accept it and chose to leave home in anger. Thinking she went to So Baek-ho, her brother brought her belongings there. So Baek-ho, after hearing the full story, found Kim Mi-kyung in a greenhouse. She firmly believed her friend and brother couldn't truly be in love, but might have gotten confused because they were lonely and together. So Baek-ho patiently listened to her complaints and then insisted that she couldn't sleep in the greenhouse. He declared they would leave home together. Kim Mi-kyung thanked So Baek-ho for comforting her like a sweet and gentle soul. They went to a hotel, and thinking of what might happen next, she tried to calm her wildly beating heart and mentally prepared herself. Coming out of the restroom, she hesitantly asked if she should shower first. So Baek-ho handed her a towel, saying she could do whatever she wanted, but he was leaving. Her expectations dashed. Kim Mi-kyung felt played by So Baek-ho. He looked into her eyes and said seriously that tonight was not the right time, as her mind was troubled by her brother and best friend. Understanding that So Baek-ho was considering her feelings, she reached out and embraced him. The next day, Yoon Hee-jin took the initiative to call Park Ki-se for a meeting. As soon as they met, she asked Park Ki-se for a hug. When Park did not respond, she hugged him herself. So Baek-ho and Kim Mi-kyung were arriving at the headquarters for a meeting. The moment the elevator doors opened, they saw Park Ki-se and Yoon Hee-jin embracing. So Baek-ho, surprised, called out Yoon Hee-jin's name. Kim Mi-kyung suddenly remembered the wedding invitation Park Ki-se had given her years ago. The bride's name was indeed Yoon Hee-jin.